Now.
We're started.
We're started.
Hello, Zeke. You're almost 1 year old. This is July 5th, 2017. My name is Richard Roy Stephen. I am your great grandpa.
One great.
One great. Well, I have a great. Okay.
You exaggerate. One great.
One great. I already blew it.
You're great, but you're only one great.
The commentary you hear on the other side of this is my wife, Donna. And she will maybe show you herself someday. Not today. I was born August 30th, 1946. I've had a lot of experiences in life, but I'll get to those another time. My father was born in 1902, June 16th, I think. My mother, and I'll tell you their names in a moment. My mother was born April 20th, 1916. Yeah, I know, 14 years apart. You stole them from the grave, from the cradle. My father enlisted in World War I, but never went overseas. You'll learn about this in history class.
Did you give your father's full name?
Oh, my father's full name, yes.
Your full name's on everything.
My father's name was Roy William Stephen. My mother's name was Helen Frances Stephen. Maiden name, Palazinski. I knew my grandmothers, and I don't know their first names. All I knew them by was Grandma Stephen and Grandma Palazinski. Don't ask me to spell the words. It doesn't work. That's why we're doing video. And I only have a glimpse of a memory of my grandpa Stephen. Never knew anything about him, and I never knew anything about Grandpa Palazinski. My mother was born in Crown Point, Indiana, not far from where I am right now. My father was born in Omaha, Nebraska. My father moved to California during the Depression. I'm not quite sure when. And Mother sometime then too. I don't know. I don't have a date. And they hooked up then during the Depression era, I think. My mother had health problems from the beginning. She had tuberculosis when she was young. She went to a sanitarium. When I was in 5th grade or 4th grade, I was pulled out of school because she had to go into the sanitarium again, and I went to live with a family called the Matzenbachers. Don't ask me to spell that one. That was a really good experience, though, because they had a boy my age and a girl several years older than me.
Where did they live?
They lived in West Covina, and that was really nice. And I stayed there about 6 months, and then I went back to being at home. After school and trying to work, I kind of ran out of a job, and that was when the Vietnam War was starting. So I joined the Navy, and I went out to sea. I went to see a lot of bars. I got drunk a lot, but in a lot of different countries. This is back in 1965. That's when it started. 65 is when it started. July is when I enlisted. And I got out in July of 1969. And I've been to a lot of different countries, like I said. I've been to... What do you want me to do?
Which countries?
Huh?
Tell them the countries
I
you've
was
been
just
in.
about to.
Okay.
I got on my ship. The ship was called the USS Newell. And it was just an old World War II DE, a destroyer escort. And I got on that ship in the Philippines, in Subic Bay, where they had mud that would get on your clothes and never be able to get washed off. In fact, normally you couldn't wear dirty clothes to go on shore, but in Subic Bay, you could wear the same white pants that had crappy stuff on the cuffs, because it couldn't be washed off no matter what. Other countries I went to were, we went off the coast of Vietnam a lot. I never set foot on shore of Vietnam, but I was there a lot. I got a lot of combat pay, but I never went on shore. I went to Hong Kong quite a few times. Pretty trippy. Had the Tiger Palm Gardens there. It's not anymore. I've been to Japan. I've been to Thailand once. I've been to Taiwan many times. Took a trip up to Taipei, which is the capital of Taiwan. Never go on many, what do you call it, journeys, help me out here, Donna, that when you go as a tourist.
I don't know, tours?
A tour or whatever, yeah, not too many, because in those times you didn't have time to spend just going seeing sights normally. All you had time for is to go get drunk and extras. Yeah, there were extras. Yes, yeah. I also went to Australia. I've been to Sydney, and then I went and spent a week in Hobart, Tasmania, little island below Australia, the island below the island. And then we were home ported in Hawaii for like 3 years. So I knew a lot about the island of Oahu. I never got to go to any of the other islands. During my life, that's it about Navy stuff. During my life, when I was in 14, 15, I had a thyroid operation. If you can see, I have a scar right here. And that was when they tried to fix it by slicing you open and taking part of your thyroid out. But it didn't take really, because by the time I was out of the Navy, it had grown back, and that made me hyper. And then I got in a motorcycle accident, and they determined that I had too high a heart rate, so they gave me some radioactive stuff, and I drank it, and now I don't have a thyroid anymore. But I have to take a drug because I don't have a thyroid anymore. And I think I don't have a thyroid. I think I had a thyroid disease because back in the 50s they used to do nuclear tests in Nevada. You could drive through the dust. And we went to Utah and stuff. So it's quite possible. Anyway, that's later in life. When I was in the 60s here, I found that I have aneurysms. And I have quite a few of them, but they've all been fixed. At least to my knowledge, we got them all. I got it all over me. And I've had them fixed. My mother died of cancer, but she had, like I said, a hard life with tuberculosis and maybe other stuff. I'm not sure. My father died of cancer from smoking cigarettes, which I highly recommend you never do. Never, because I am now suffering from smoking cigarettes. Although I've quit.
Which is very good, and we're proud of you for that.
Yeah.
Good for you, yay.
But it's kind of like too late because my lungs are really screwed up.
But still, you did it, and you did it in time.
Yeah. And I don't
You're still somewhat
I don't have to
alive.
spend any money on cigarettes anymore. Let's see. I'm trying to think what else I should be talking about now.
Tell him about when you were younger. Who'd you marry? Tell
Who'd
him
I
about
marry?
Tell him about his
Pat
great grandma
Sprague.
Pat.
And Pat lived across the street from my parents. And the reason I got to know her is because her family had a swimming pool with a diving board and everything. And I was invited to come over a lot, and that's who I married. And we had 2 children. Tony, who was born, or Anthony if you prefer, was born in White Memorial Hospital, LA. And Jeff was born in Tucson, Arizona. Me and Pat were married about 2 years and had 2 kids. And then down the road, Pat divorced me, which was fine with me, because she wanted to marry Andy Juarez. And she stayed married to him for a long time, till he died. Jeff, my son, has diabetes. Of what type, I'm not quite sure. But it's can be kind of serious, and you'll have to ask your father about that. These are just things to watch out for. I don't know what other kind of diseases to really watch out for. I don't have any. I'm not allergic or anemic or anything like that. So, this is more just to give you a reference point on, yeah, I remember my great-grandpa. He's on a little video, which is really cool because you couldn't do this until real recently.
Boy, you sure couldn't.
And I'm real glad that I'm able to do it. Let's see, what else can I tell you about?
And we're very glad that we've been getting to see all of your pictures, Zeke, as you're growing up.
I got to see from just after you were born till now.
Been seeing pictures of you. We
So
saw you
because
take your
mommy takes lots of pictures.
and wonderful pictures.
And
she's a good mommy, and she's been
She's a
doing a really
wonderful
good
mommy.
job.
She's a wonderful mommy.
And we saw you first when you were walking. We saw your first teeth.
Yep. And this will be around so you can see it again if you ever like. I don't know how interesting it's going to be, but it's there if you want to watch it.
Well, it's things he should know about your past, about where he comes from.
Because like I said, I knew nothing about my grandpa.
Do you remember the street that you lived on when you grew up? And
what, in Baldwin Park?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it was Mangum.
And do you
3,
remember?
4, 5, 6, Mangum. Hard one to remember, huh?
That's an easy one to remember, and maybe someday they might even want to go by and take a look at it.
Well,
That's
you
why
can
I'm
buy it.
telling you.
It doesn't look nothing like what it did.
Well, no, it sure